Hey everyone, let's take a look at this indifference curve analysis. The indifference curve analysis is an alternative to the theory of utility maximization, and this is just ranking the preferences for consumer products. So first we can take a look at the budget line. Before looking at the indifference curve, the budget line is showing the combination of two products a consumer can purchase with their money income. The slope of the budget line is the ratio of the good on the horizontal axis over the ratio of the good on the vertical axis. These are some anchor points here which we can find out by dividing the total money income over the price of the good. That means if we are at this point here, the consumer is only buying 12 units of B and 0 units of A. If we are at this point here, the consumer is purchasing 8 units of A and 0 units of B. So this anchor point is all A, this anchor point is all B. Now, what happens if the money income increases, or you can just say that total expenditure increases from 12 to 24? Then the budget line will shift outwards. This will become like this axis will be 24, and this one will double as well, and this one will be 16. So if the income increases, the budget line shifts to the right. We can also do it for income decrease. If the income decreases, budget line will shift to the left. Now take a look at what happens when the price increases or decreases. Now, given to us the price of B is equal to $1, and I'm going to change this price of B here. So price of B is $1. Say the price of B is going to go down from $1 to 50 cents. Price of A is staying the same. Price of A, which is like $1.50. This is staying the same. So the consumer can purchase more of good B. That means we have $12 over 50 cents, and the budget line is gonna rotate outwards with the quantity of A staying the same and quantity of B going up. Let's say we have another price of B here. Say this was new 1, this is new 2. The new price of B is equal to $2. Now what happens to the budget line? So the new number here on the horizontal axis will be equal to 12 over $2, which is 6. The number we got here is by dividing 12 over $2. So basically the budget line is going to rotate outwards or inwards depending on the price of the good. Now take a look at this indifference curve analysis. So this is showing us the combination of two products that yields the consumer the same total utility. So this is how the indifference curve looks like. We have 4 combinations J, K, L and M, and the consumer is indifferent between all these combinations. That means the consumer does not really prefer point K to point J or point L to point M. To the consumer, all these combinations are equally desirable. Okay, now we can define the concept of marginal rate of substitution, which is the slope of the indifference curve. So this is the mathematical notation here, but I can make this easier. This is equal to the change in A going down over B going up. This is how we define the marginal rate of substitution. This means this MRS, or marginal rate of substitution, means the rate at which one good is going down and the other good is going up, keeping total utility constant. If we want to calculate the marginal rate of substitution between points J and K, it will be negative 6 over positive 2, because we have the amount of A that is going down from 12 to 6 and B is going up from 2 to 4. This is negative 3. And the MRS is not going to be the same as we move along the indifference curve. Unlike the slope of the budget constraint. The slope of the budget constraint, which we looked at here, is always going to be the same, because the slope of the budget constraint here is equal to the price of the good on the horizontal axis over the price of the good on the vertical axis. I would say, like, if we are looking at this blue line here, the slope of the budget constraint is going to be the same all over this blue line. However, because the indifference curve is curved downward sloping, it has different slopes at different points. Now let's look at this indifference maps. Here we have a combination of indifference curves, and I4 is preferred to I3, I3 is preferred to I2, I2 is preferred to I1. That means the highest indifference curve is the most preferred because it gives the consumer the highest utility. Okay. Now the next slide, we are looking at the intersection of the indifference curve and the budget constraint. So basically that is the consumer's equilibrium position, where the indifference curve is tangent to the budget line and utility is maximized. And at this point, the slope of the indifference curve is gonna be equal to the slope of the budget line. So point X is my equilibrium point here. The reason for this is the indifference curve is tangent to the budget line. But I know this indifference curve is I4 is preferred to indifference curve I3, but because this is outside the budget line, this anywhere along this indifference curve I4 is not affordable. Okay, we can be at point X, or we can be at point A and point B. However, point X is preferred to points A and B. The reason for this is point X is at a higher indifference curve than points A and B, but definitely the consumer can afford all these points A, B, and X because all these points are on the budget line. However, this is the one the consumer will go for because this is at a higher indifference curve. Okay. Alright, the next slide is just showing us what happens when the price of B is going down and the consumption of B. So we can have this one as the old budget line. So this one, I'm just going to say here, this is the old budget line. This is the new budget line, and we are going to have indifference curves. This is an intersection point. This is another intersection point. So the way they did this graph here, I'm not very happy with the way they did this graph because it looks like the budget line has pivoted to the left. That means the price of B went up. If the price of B went up, the consumer is going to buy less B. So if this is a demand curve for B here, we were looking at the numbers when the price of B was $1.50 and $2. So when the price of B was equal to $1, the consumer was purchasing 12 units of B. When the price of B went up from $1 to $2, the consumer was purchasing 6 units of B. So we can relate the budget line to the indifference curve and the demand curve. So the equilibrium is where the budget line is cutting the indifference curve, and we can use this concept to find the demand curve. When the indifference curve, alright, let me just do it this way here. When we have the budget line, this one just pivots to the left because the price of the good in question, this went up. The quantity of B, this will go down, and we will have our demand curve. Okay. All right, that's all for now. Thank you very much.